Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I'm coming on to talk about a highly requested topic, which is going to be Jupiter in Pisces. I had originally planned to wait to talk about this transit until it came back into Pisces because it is not spending that long in Pisces before it goes retrograde and back into Aquarius. In fact, as I'm making this video, it's June 12th, 2021, and on June 20th of 2021, Jupiter is going to go retrograde, and by July 28th, 2021, it will be back in Aquarius, and we're going to have the rest of 2021 with Jupiter in Aquarius still. So we just barely get a small experience of Jupiter in Pisces here in 2021, and then it will be at the very end of 2021, December 28th. 2021, that Jupiter goes back into Pisces. So I'm going to be making probably a part 2 to this video right at the calendar new year of 2022 so we can get to understand it more. But as I was experiencing this time, I realized that this was probably a good topic to make a video about now because, Jupiter is getting, advanced enough, at 3 degrees of Pisces to where we can really feel it. And I think that it is going to color the Jupiter retrograde back into Aquarius, being that Jupiter got as advanced as it is. So in the description box below, I'm going to put all of the dates in case there's any confusion. I'll be talking more about them in the video, but Jupiter's movements and motions are actually very complicated right now because in its transitory cycle, it is just barely getting into the next sign before it retrogrades back. So in fact, once Jupiter next year moves into Aries, it's going to retrograde back into Pisces and then move back into Aries. And so we're going to be going through most of 2022 with this same dynamic where Jupiter just barely gets into the next sign, then it retrogrades back, which meaning that Jupiter's retrograde cycles are happening on cusps, which adds a very high level of chaos to the energy of Jupiter, though it gives a very eclectic and different tone to the way the energy expresses itself. So I'm really excited to dive into that all today, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful coffee, tea, water, whatever, as we talk about the very water element Jupiter coming in. I'm really excited. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this video if you're new, and turn on the bell notifications, and comment below and let me know what Jupiter in Pisces is feeling like to you. What is your Jupiter sign? Your comments mean the world to me, so let me know how you're experiencing this transit. And without further ado, let's talk all about it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is the full energy of Jupiter in Pisces is not yet here, and it's not going to be until 2022. The energy of Jupiter in Pisces that we're facing right now is toned very much by the Jupiter in Aquarius, which you have to keep in mind we only had for about 6 months. Jupiter moved so quickly through Aquarius that we haven't actually experienced all of Jupiter in Aquarius yet and all of what that has to offer. So I'm not positive what I'm titling this video yet, but it's kind of sort of a combinative approach in this video, like this sort of Jupiter, late Jupiter Aquarius / Jupiter in Pisces, and that just has a big effect on Jupiter in Pisces. It's going to be a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more airy and open and innovative Jupiterian energy for the rest of 2021. So I'm going to be more so acclimating this video to that side of it, and then we'll come back right in 2022 and go majorly into the next part of Jupiter in Pisces. But this segment of Jupiter in Pisces that we are experiencing until July 28th of 2021 is going to be very much about purpose, a sort of sense of timeless purpose. The early part of Jupiter in Pisces, in fact, the first about 2 decans of it, so until Jupiter gets pretty late, like into the early 20 degrees of Pisces, deals so much with purpose and the type of permanent purpose that is emotionally motivated. Once we get more advanced in Pisces, like in the very last decan, it really deactivates purpose and becomes more just about the experience of universal lifetime and the way that life universality and space operates within time. It's very time oriented. It's very much about large space, large macrocosmic events. The archetype and sign of Pisces is about all of that. And when you put Jupiter there, it expands it. It makes the space even larger. It's important to remember that Pisces rules over not only the ocean, but outer space as well, in the sense that the darkest, deepest parts of the ocean where you can't have a sense of directional navigation, where you don't know where the bottom of the ocean is or where the surface is, and there's pretty much no way to orient yourself. That's kind of the exact same experience as being in void space, being in outer space as well. This is the type of archetype that Pisces has certainly advanced rulership over in its later decans. I find that Pisces in its earlier decans, so between like 0 and 21 degrees, deals more so with ethereal magic, with artistry, with a feeling of fantasy, with a feeling of, really actually beautiful, incredible sensory stimulation that fuels and motivates the way that people choose in their lives, the way that time and artistry come together, and the way that rhythm is generated in order to really modify and give tone to expression. This is a lot of what the Pisces archetype in its earlier degrees deals with. But once you get to that advanced Piscean place, it is about void. And it is about the sort of phase of existence before death as well. Because Pisces marks the ultimate ending at, once we get to 29 degrees, the anaretic degree of Pisces. And before we move into that that transition threshold into Aries, that's like the death and birth process. Okay, so it's just a sort of an understanding of what this energy is. And when Jupiter goes into it, Jupiter is the natural ruler of Sagittarius, but before Neptune was discovered, which is the current ruler of Pisces, Jupiter had rulership over Pisces. Jupiter absolutely loves to be in Pisces. It absolutely enjoys that sort of traditional sense of rulership that it has over the sign. And the way in which Jupiter rules over Pisces is in the sense of its artistic expression, in the sense of emotional relativity to what the energetic output is. To speak more mundanely, one of the best ways to channel the energy of Jupiter in Pisces is to really start emotionally comprehending the ways that you want to express your life force energy. So in layman's terms, like, what am I meant to be doing? What is my purpose? What is my best way to output energy that utilizes my talents and that I actually enjoy? One of the best parts in this 12-year cycle, again, Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the sun, spending approximately 1 year in each sign, depending on retrograde cycles. This 1 year within 12 years is about timeless purpose. It's about, what you know that you always like in life, like what you know that you're always good at, what you know that you always have emotional relevance with, okay? So the difficulty that comes up with the Jupiter and Pisces transit, especially in this part of it, in this 2021 part of it, where it's so close to Aquarius, the difficulty is in stagnation, is in rigidity, lack of flexibility. I think it's important to take into context the 2020 year cycle and all of the Capricorn energy, the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn, that maybe really rigidified and structured certain experiences of life. And then a transit like this comes in and it really clashes with that previous rigidity. This transit really asks for fluidity, flexibility, not requiring that life be predictable in every sense. The people who are lovers of the unpredictability of life, the people who enjoy the fact that certain things aren't predestined, predetermined, or predictable, are really the people that thrive with Jupiter in Pisces, okay? Whereas the people who are unhealthily attached to security, the people who need to predict everything, people who perhaps struggle more with control or need to have control representations in every sector of life, are the people who struggle with this transit, because there aren't really guarantees or warranties with this. In fact, one of the biggest things I'm seeing with this section of it, and even with Jupiter's cycle over the rest of this year as it goes back into Aquarius, is people really trying to innovate on that Aquarian side, new forms of security in tandem with that context I was talking about 2020's transits, which really rigidified and restructured our security and value norms. Okay, so especially here in the June, July, and August section of 2021, where we really do have Jupiter in Pisces and it's retrograding back, getting closer to that cusp with Aquarius, what that says to me is that many of us aren't ready for that huge open world, open, fluid, flexible, lacking in guarantee, yet artistic, yet beautiful, sort of just incredible experience. Many people, they're like, no, take me back. Take me back to the innovation process, Aquarius energy. Take me back to the sort of non-status quo, different experience. Take me back to the planning process, to the strategy process, to the recipe orientation. I'm not ready for the actual output. Like, a lot of people still want to be in that planning phase. They still want to be mapping things out. They still want to be preparing mentally. That's a lot of what Jupiter in Aquarius is about. Okay. I will be sure to link below my previous Jupiter in Aquarius and New Wave video to get more context about that. And it'll be in the top right-hand corner. But a lot of what that was, and we didn't get that much time with it. We only got 6 months with the, like, wow, envisioning what I could do with my life. Wow, making new recipes, making new inventions, really innovating my lifestyle, knowing that I can put multiple hats on and be very eccentric, very entrepreneurial energy of Jupiter in Aquarius. And here's kind of the crazy thing, is that Jupiter in Pisces washes a lot of that away, and it leaves the truth. It leaves behind the actual structure that was there. If you notice, like, if you've ever, owned a business, or if you've ever tried to really structure and create something, a lot of times there will be a lot of unnecessary flotsam and jetsam with that. And one of the purposes of Jupiter in Pisces is to really pare down and to really know what is and what is not necessary within your life. So a hard part of Jupiter in Pisces, especially in the early part, is it's kind of like a flooding energy. And I talked about this on Patreon. I believe it was in the most recent T-Chat. I do weekly bonus forecasts over there that are only available over there at this time. So be sure to check that out. I'll link it below. But I was talking about how this specific period of time can be a lot like being caught in, like, a raging river within a current, and it, for some people, like, that's not always bad. Like, you can just be washed away into smoother waters, and it can be sort of a smooth experience, though perhaps frightening. And then for other people, that can be a very threatening experience. Like, are there jagged rocks beneath the surface? Is there a lot of flotsam and jetsam in the water? This transit is hard if we're holding on to too much. If you're really weighed down by something, you can't float at the surface as easily, and you can really kind of feel like pushed down. This transit is important to retain some amount of lightness, okay? To retain some amount of lack of heaviness, okay? Really taking burdens off of your shoulders, especially in this early part of Jupiter in Pisces. I wouldn't recommend it so much at the end of the transit. So that, in a way, is the way that this period of time, June, July, August of 2021, are really working with us, because we get this small experience of Jupiter in Pisces, and we really will see what's too heavy. Like, it's difficult to stay at the surface with everything I have on my plate. Thinking of, like the 10 of Wands in Tarot, carrying all of that weight can kind of work in Jupiter in Aquarius, because, again, it's the air element. It's so light, so that maybe the rest of life is really supporting us. But by Jupiter in Pisces, all that weight, like, we're in water now, and we have to be light enough to remain at the surface. There's a big challenge with keeping things surface level early in Jupiter in Pisces, and having a beautiful, sort of fantastical experience. I really think that that is the main purpose, especially of Decan 1, like 1 through 10 degrees of Pisces is like having that fantastical, beautiful, light, stylish, artistic muse experience of Pisces, sort of maybe having a different style, feeling a totally new subset. Surprisingly, it can be very new in the beginning of Jupiter and Pisces. The lifestyle can really change for a lot of people. There can really be a whisper of, how can we live our lives better? How can we make this better? How can we take the innovation of Jupiter and Aquarius, which we're going to get more of that from, about July until December of 2021. That's not over. That innovative process is still coming in. And then we'll go through the entire primary first decan of Pisces again in 2022. So we'll go through this again. So that's interesting to see how this is stacking. So something I can say that's reassuring is that this isn't going to be our last chance to really start over, to really lighten our load, to really dispel heaviness. Though it is a great opportunity right here and now to do that, especially as we came through those previous eclipses in May and June of 2021, North Node in Gemini season eclipses. Dispelling heaviness was the theme that I saw with that. We're going to have another chance again at the beginning, like February of 2022 is another opportunity. And after that is like not going to be for quite a while, where we really have to, settle in. We have to accept the momentum, and we have to work with the palette at hand after, for sure March or April of 2022. Like, we really have to know what we're doing with things. But it feels timely. It feels like we're given extension after extension, especially considering that we had so much time in the year of 2020 to really reflect and to really, have that hermit experience and to really think about life. And I know for a lot of people, it became more of a interesting type of like mental frenzy, like frenetic energy. And a lot of people kind of bypassed or pivoted away from that simple truth, that simple formula that came in. And here's another chance to get that. Jupiter and Pisces can simplify, but it can also complicate. Okay, so again, I would definitely encourage here at the beginning of this transit to simplify as much as possible and to keep things easy, to really pursue how you think your life is beautiful, and to not also get too attached to manifestations either. I think that people can get way too connected. And this deals with the North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius transit that we're having concurrently at this time, where, and I was talking about this in the T-Chat on Patreon as well. If you want to know more about North Node in Gemini and what that means collectively, be sure to check out T-Chat 68. It's on Patreon right now, linked below. I talked about that and how it's so hard to make things physical right now. People are very attached to the planning phase, very attached to the conceptual phase, to the being one place and dreaming about the other place while not really actually placing action into that movement, which ends up over time becoming a very, very painful habit. And a nasty habit, actually. And that's what Jupiter and Pisces really does represent, is that transitional phase. Sort of like an ending, like the death card in tarot, like that archetype of knowing that something is over, knowing that a phase or chapter is over, but the beauty of knowing that there is a new beginning on the other side of that, very Phoenix archetype stuff here and now. And that phase is happening until 2023, guys. Like, we've got time. We've got time to comprehend it, to conceptualize around it, and we don't want to procrastinate that. We don't want to distract ourselves too much from really understanding that, because it's great that we have such an extension, I think, until 2023, Jupiter and Pisces. It goes into Aries and then retrogrades back into Pisces in 2022. And then at the very end of 2022, like I think it's December 20th, 2022, it goes into Aries for the final time. So we have at least the lion's share of calendar year 2022 to work with this energy and to work with this sacred transition process, or to work with this sacred, rising from the ashes. And we kind of need some Scorpio energy to really make that the case. Again, Pisces is not really the Phoenix archetype. There's a sort of representation of that as Pisces moves into Aries. It really is like ashes and then, that spark of rise. But the Scorpio archetype is needed to really like light that spark, to really like actually trigger and catalyze that Mars-Pluto energy, that actual process. Otherwise, the ash just kind of remains as ash, So I'll be looking in the next installment of this video to talk about and see if there's Scorpio energy there. But interestingly, actually right around the time that this video is coming out, nearing the end of June, I believe it's like June 22nd, that there's going to be a grand water trine. The sun's going to move into Cancer. There's going to be a moon in Scorpio. And of course, there's going to be Jupiter in Pisces. So that's very, very Phoenixian energy. And being that it was eclipse season also around this time, like there's a lot of things coming in, things going out. And that's a lot of what this transit is about too. But what else with Jupiter in Pisces? Well, the main hit that I'm getting on it right here and right now is that we're really not going to know what the transit represents until about February of 2022. Though the actions that we make here at the beginning of the transit have a big effect on that momentum. So May, June, July, up until July 28th of 2021, really starts a snowball rolling. Like it starts the energy snowballing. And then it's like it kind of goes out of our vision from September until December of 2021, and we work more on innovating and we work more on making progress, and we put in some like really kind of innovative and Vulcan Aquarian energy into goals and progress. And then by January of 2022, there's an aha moment. There's a, whoa, this is big. There's a huge looming vision of what many, many contributions over 11 whole years. Again, this is the last sign, Pisces, 12th sign of the zodiac. Jupiter is a 12th planet. It takes 12 years to go around the sun. This is a culmination more than anything. Culmination is where we're going to be starting at in 2022, and how we choose to wield culmination, how we choose to grow through culmination and through final chapters. Okay. So if you're here right now, and especially if you're listening to this video when I'm first releasing it in June of 2021, this is like ultimately, I guess, the strategic person's guide here, because this isn't quite here yet, Right now, it can be beautiful, it can be easy. You can kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit. You can kind of take some time off. It's kind of a vacationer's energy, a traveler's energy, a free-flowing and healing energy as well, a restructuring, a dissolving of outworn structures as well is one of the most potent parts of Jupiter in Pisces. So anything which is outworn, old, or improperly like manufactured in your life will start to dissolve. And through that, you will probably be pulled into more soulful experiences. Soulful, okay? I don't know if that's a word, like soul, S-O-U-L, full, F-U-L, soulful, inner soulful experiences. So if you've been feeling kind of like you're on the sideline, or like you're not really positioned in a way that you can actually connect or discover the higher, more broad meaning. So any type of like depressive cycles, any type of discouragement, insecurities, self-concept issues, self-deprecating, self-sabotaging processes where you deny yourself the access to better experiences, really have to be seen now and looked at now. This is an important time to heal that, as again, the sign of Pisces is a lot about those things. Like it can be about sadness. It can be about, really sometimes indulgently perplexing these types of human condition experiences, which is oftentimes like the lower vibration of Pisces, like where, that depressive cycle or that self-sabotaging cycle becomes, a purposefully contributed to snowball effect. So that's what we don't really want. Instead, it's better to start healing these wounds now. Maybe this really is a great time to, work with a therapist or work with someone who can really help elicit a better transformation. Again, of course, I can't advise on anything like that here. These videos are just for entertainment purposes. But, astrologically, Jupiter in Pisces can show emotional healing. It can show really overcoming some type of emotional hurdle. And the lion's share of that will probably be done in 2022. Again, it's just so slim. It's so small, the energy of Jupiter and Pisces that we're getting here now, but it is here. It is here nonetheless. It's a very small tone within the more comprehensive experience that we're seeing. But I think that the most sensible way to think about this energy right now is maybe retrospectively, in a reflective way, being that we're moving into Cancer season and that Jupiter in Pisces goes retrograde and back towards Aquarius in Cancer season. Cancer as a sign deals with the past. It deals with reflections. So maybe we need to reflect on times in our own lives where something came in really quickly or something really showed a prominent type of really beautiful expression in our life very temporarily, then went right back out. That's kind of what Jupiter's doing. It's into Pisces very briefly and right back out into Aquarius. So to me, when that happens to people in their lives, when there's that lack of permanence or when something comes in and it goes out really quick, it's like an eclipse, which we've just had. But it usually means that something needs to change, something needs adjustment, something needs alteration, and it's kind of like flagging that something's off a little bit. And it doesn't mean that that's the way it is for everybody. But Jupiter in Aquarius, once we get back into it after July 28th of 2021, there's probably going to be a need to actually do that innovation then, to actually sort of inventively create a more maintainable system or a more maintainable lifestyle or health regimen or anything like that. Again, the planet Jupiter often is about the creative process. It's about mindsets. It's about philosophies, mantras, what we learn, status, luck, very non-tangible things, although it can really express more tangibly. Though when it's in Aquarius and Pisces, so much of it is at the motivational level. So much of it is less physical. And then when it gets back into Aries, okay, it becomes very much more physical and more body-centric, okay? So I really do have to say that our mindsets are so much right now, like what we choose to focus on, what we choose to believe about our lives, like, our mentalities, like self-defeating attitudes, like I've done something and I can't forgive myself for it, really does snowball with this energy. Likewise, so does, confidence. Like you can really build up confidence if you want. Try to really nurture how you feel, whether it's Jupiter in Aquarius or Jupiter in Pisces. Nurturing that mindset is very important. Making sure that you are aware of why your thought processes are being disturbed as well, if that's a component. Like, does it have to do with where you're living? Does it have to do with the way that you're creating value in your life? Does it have to do with small decisions made daily over time, snowballing into a much larger condition? Really being able to pinpoint, again, on the Jupiter and Pisces side especially, as it's the Virgo-Pisces axis. Okay, a lot of people forget this, where Pisces can be very much a perfectionist energy sometimes, as it's on that axis. It really likes to pinpoint, and it really likes to point at things in sort of a larger void space, which serves as accentuation really for smaller things as well through that contrast. It's important to pinpoint why disturbances are there. So if you're experiencing disturbances, if you're having difficulty with relationships, difficulty with trusting, difficulty with cycles such as betrayal or commitment or anything like that, that should be very easy to see the root of, to see the source of now, okay? And especially now, as Jupiter is early in Pisces and before it goes back into Aquarius, once it really gets advanced into Pisces, it's much more difficult to see those things. And instead, we more so deal with just the immensity of our circumstances, and it becomes much less fine-tuned. So basically, I'll wrap up on the notion that now is a really preferable window to see the source of any issues and to really make those changes if they're possible. And especially like after July 28th, when Jupiter goes back into Aquarius, to really innovate and create those solutions, okay? And prepare for those solutions to be something that make the next Jupiter in Pisces, once 2022 is rolling around in front of us, that really makes that a much greater more fantastical experience, okay? So I hope you all enjoyed this part 1 segment of Jupiter in Pisces. Right at the calendar new year of 2022, I plan to come back and make a part 2 because the energy is probably going to feel quite different by then. But this video was so highly requested in the comments of previous videos. I was going to wait, like I said, to make a Jupiter in Pisces video just because it's spending such a short amount of time in Pisces actually. But I'm always looking at the comments, and oftentimes if a lot of people want something, I will try to create that video. But thank you so much, everyone. Be sure to comment below the comments, and also when you hit the like button on YouTube, it really helps the video to get out there. That's a great free way to support the channel. And then also, if you wanted to support the channel further, you can hit the join button here on YouTube, or I have a Patreon page as well where I do bonus weekly content. I do weekly forecasts, viewer requests, and I put out a lot of the content here on YouTube over there. It's great to just have that full access. And then the general readings I do early and ad-free. So it's a really, really great service that I've worked really hard on. So if you want to check that out, I will link it in the center of the screen. And yes, there will be a lot of information in the description box as well about dates, because I know it's a little bit complicated. Even for astrologers, what Jupiter is doing right now is a little bit complicated. But I will provide it all below, and as well as any other links to previous videos that I mentioned, and links to Patreon and social media and all of that stuff. So thank you all so much. I'm wishing you a lot of love and dispelling of heaviness in this sort of preemptive Jupiter and Pisces phase. I will talk to you soon. Have a great, ride of it. Much love. Bye.